I'm going to speak from two perspectives today, but about the same thing. One perspective is from those who are already avid yogis or who are already on board the yoga train, right? But so much so that you don't really consider anything else. So let's just say that you're here. The other perspective is those that are completely anti-yoga and are very much not on board the train and on the other side, on the other end of the spectrum, right? So whatever that may be, I don't want to generalize, so I'm not going to actually give an example. But we meet in the middle because it is so important to cross-train with your practices. So whether you're a yogi, you need stability. When we talk about yoga, there is often a glorification of hip openers particularly, and look, I love a good glute stretch. I am all about it, and but there is often a glorification of hip openers and fancy back bends, the really deep ones. But often, not always, there are some great teachers that I know of, and that's just in my small little world, that really highlight the importance of strengthening with stretching. But I sometimes get a little concerned that the perception of yoga is only about stretching. That is a large part of yoga, yes, especially when we are in over tight bodies, but like anything, it's not the solve all, and like anything, it needs balance. So my teachers taught me a lot about my own body just through her teachings and having an understanding of my own body. As a result of that, living in a hypermobile body means that my body often feels unstable because it largely is. Everything extends beyond a little bit beyond range that is safe, and it makes it it makes it feel uncomfortable and generally unstable. So she has always done me the blessing of highlighting the importance of strengthening exercises, which I have also found really beneficial in my trainer at the gym as well, who understands my perspective on that. So having that balance of strengthening, and I do weight training as my strengthening now, just because I wasn't getting enough of it in yoga. I couldn't physically make it to enough classes to build up enough strength for it, because time is precious. But I do a lot of weight training each week. When I say a lot, it's a lot more than what I have ever done, if that is any scale. But what that does is it cross-trains my body. I get a lot more out of my yoga practice now because my body feels safer in it, even in the stretches that I've always enjoyed, even if I didn't realize before, but I feel way more capable. So I get a lot more out of the opening now. I get a lot more out of the space now because there's not this sense of underlying instability that my body and then therefore my mind is trying to find. My body has a lot more homeostasis physically, so balance physically between feeling strong and stable, but also still open and encouraging healthy flexibility. So then we flip the cross training to the other group, because I can't just talk about one without talking about the other. To those, if you look at athletes, they are always cross-training. They have strength and conditioning. So, like swimmers do strength and conditioning out of the pool. They don't literally do all of their training just by doing laps, right? That is a big part of their training because that is their skill and that is their craft. But they cross-train to build strength, to build stability, to build mobility in their body where they need it so that it supports them in their craft, right? So if you are only, say, weight training at the gym, I'm going to keep it real generic, but if you're only weight training at the gym but you're not stretching at all, even a little bit, if you're just doing heavier and heavier weights and you're just aiming to get the gains and get the gains and get the gains, that is not going to serve you. And I'm not saying that yoga is for everyone. Yoga is not necessarily the answer for you. It may not be. But finding something that also creates a little bit more mobility and stretching through your body, through the muscles, to increase blood circulation, which then improves your recovery, which can lead to more gains if that's what you're after, but it still improves your recovery regardless. If you don't do that, you're missing out. If you're a runner, I tried to be a runner once. My workplace, we used to do city to surf each year. So I kind of tried, wasn't that serious, but I tried just to see, and I was trying to run, and I've never really been a runner outside of the netball court, and I struggled. I have knee things and it didn't feel good, but I noticed like a few years after I started practicing yoga, and that's not even hardcore practicing yoga, that was maybe twice a week practicing. When I would run then, there was such a better sense of stability that I didn't expect and that I really enjoyed. So, you know, like there is a lot to be said about how opening up and lengthening muscles, aside from injury mitigation, which is a whole other thing as well, lengthened muscles are far less likely to tear in ways you don't want them to tear. I'm not talking about like weight training tearing, I mean injury tears. Lengthened muscles are far less likely to tear when they've been lengthened through regular stretching than short, tight muscles, or the tight, thick muscles. So consider that the real message here, it's not so much about yoga, that's just part of the world that I know, and I only speak from my perspective as yoga and training in a gym, not as a trainer, but in any instance, cross-training is super important, and allowing different modalities in is super important, because no one thing, absolutely no one single modality is more or less, is more useful, or is the whole solve all for everything. No one single modality will fix everything that ails you, every condition, everything. What it's really about is just finding out the balance that works for you. Some people love doing yoga every day, and that really helps them, and then they can bring in little bits of other things. Fine, great. I don't love doing yoga every day. It doesn't actually feel helpful for me. So if I do yoga to take space, I would rather sit in meditation, just sitting quietly and breathing every day as part of that practice, and then physically doing weights through a structured program, which is set up for me, or going to a yoga class, depending on what I feel like I need that day. But actually checking in with that, rather than just assuming that one single thing will fix everything. Some things can fix a lot, or help relieve a lot, I should say. Some things will help relieve a lot for you, especially if you have never practiced or partaken in these things before. There's a lot to be said about core stability, for example, insofar as how your back feels and how your whole body feels. But allow yourself to have your own unique mix and match of modalities that suit you, and that includes healing modalities as well. So really, really important. There is no one solve all, and everything needs to be balanced out, but that balance will look different to each individual person. So what is balancing for one person may not be for the other, and know that that is okay too.